Hello, hello! It's Rebecca, and I hope you all are having a wonderful holiday season. I really love the time towards the end of the year because I can start preparing for a fresh start with the new year. With that, it is the perfect time to set up our bullet journal for 2023. You might notice that this is the same journal that I used last year, and you would be correct. For 2022, I used just over half of the journal, so instead of leaving those pages empty, I will be using the rest of my Maisie Lane journal for the first half of 2023. In 2022, I really enjoyed my overarching music theme and choosing different songs to inspire the themes for each month. While I'm not sure if I'll continue the song themes in the upcoming year, I do know that I want to do more simple setups. I'll be doing a floral scrapbook layered theme, so I started by cutting out some shapes and numbers using my Cricut. I've been wanting to get more use out of my Cricut, and I think it's going to help to make some amazing spreads for my journal this upcoming year. For the cover, I wanted to do a Dutch door spread, so I started out with a sheet of scrapbooking paper that had a very nice floral design on it. I laid out the numbers of 2023 along the page and glued them down one by one. I burned out a little this past year with bullet journaling, so when I said I wanted a simple setup, I'm serious in saying that this is one of the easiest bullet journal setups you'll ever see. I didn't want to do anything too intense, and I relied on the scrapbooking paper for more of the artsy aspects of the beginning of the year setup. Once the numbers were secured, I glued the paper to the journal and cut along the border of the numbers and floral design. I wasn't a huge fan of how the border looked after cutting it, but looking at it now, it isn't too bad. Underneath the Dutch door, I glued in a striped periwinkle colored scrapbooking page and trimmed the edges to fit the journal. Like I said, this is a very simple setup, so that is it for the cover page. On the other side of the bullet journal, I wanted to write a quote to inspire me for the year, so I started with laying down a light pink piece of scrapbooking paper. I've seen other people include a word of the year in their bullet journal, but I never really felt drawn to any particular word. However, I've been trying to focus on myself the past couple of months, and I think that it would be nice to include the word growth as my word of the year for 2023. I know that it may seem like a broad word, but in general, it is meant to be encouragement to focus on myself and my own growth as a person. So after lettering the word growth on the page, I also wrote a short quote underneath it that goes with this floral theme. The quote reads, "A flower does not think of competing with a flower next to it. It just blooms." I know that it's really easy to get caught up in comparing yourself to others, which is why I wanted to have this quote remind me that focusing on being the best version of myself every day is a much healthier mindset than always being concerned as to whether you view yourself as ahead or behind the person next to you in life. I want 2023 to be a year that I can celebrate my own growth as a person, and I hope that you all will join me on this journey for the next year. Well, to finish up this page, I simply added a cutout of a circle on the top left of the page and layered a strip of the dark colored paper along the left-hand side of the circle. Behind the Dutch door, I will have my future log for the first half of the year. Like I said earlier, I will only be using the rest of this journal for the first 6 months, so I only need to record the first 6 months in my future log. I started by placing a floral washi tape down the center to divide the spread in half. Then I highlighted a line for the header of each month, alternating between a light blue and pink. I didn't mean to do it, but I find that I often come back to this rose quartz and serenity color palette. I wrote out the months on each of the highlighted lines in an uppercase font, and then I wrote out all of the dates on the page. Now when it comes to bullet journaling, I've been a little up in the air as to whether or not I want to continue making videos out of the setups. As of now, I decided that it'd be best to just make them if I feel like it, or to live stream the setup on Twitch, and if not, I will just be posting photos of it on my art Instagram. Although you can let me know if you enjoy these types of videos by subscribing and liking the video to show that you want to see more. Back to the spread, I couldn't decide if it would look better by adding more washi tape to the spread, but after thinking about it, I decided that I wanted to just keep the spread as simple as possible. With that, we are moving on to the final spread of the setup, which is just as easy as the previous pages. I divided the next spread into 4 sections, which will kind of be a combination of a few spreads that I had in my setup last year. I'm including a section to write down my goals for the year, a section to record when I film and post YouTube videos, a section to write down things to check out, and finally a section to just brainstorm ideas. For this page, I highlighted the section header with a Tombow and wrote out the title in all caps. Then, I alternated the color of the marker to outline the box for each section. Since the spread itself was still relatively plain, I decided to add a piece of washi tape going through the center of the spread and then layered a few pieces of washi tape around the boxes. I think I've grown very fond of making these simple spreads because they save me a lot of time and just give me a clean space to plan. With the final flip through of the bullet journal setup for the beginning of the year, I hope that 2023 will be a year of growth for me as well as you. I hope you enjoyed this very simple setup for the new year, and if you're still around, let me know in the comments what you're looking forward to the most in 2023. Thank you so much for watching, have a happy holiday season, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!